NASM is giving you free courses. That's right, free courses each month just for being part of the NASM family. Learn about everything ranging from nutrition to strength, weight loss to stress relief, and everything in between. Click the link in the bio for information and to claim your free course before they're gone.
You're listening to the NASM-CPT Podcast with Richey, the official podcast of the National Academy of Sports Medicine.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the NASM-CPT Podcast. My name is Richey, and today we are going to talk about beyond the first session. So last week, we talked about what my first session looks like. And again, my first session, your first session may not be exactly the same, but I at least shared with you what works for me and what I do. If you find that beneficial, fantastic. If you listen to that and you were like, nothing about that is what I would do, then don't do it. Don't do it. But I did want to share kind of how I take people through the first session and what my setup is and how I work with people. And then even at the end, because this is a business, requesting referrals from people, asking if they know others that would be interested in personal training and to connect me with those people. So with that being said, we kind of gone through the first session, and then my producer, Eric, was like, hey, I got a good idea. You've talked us through the first session. Why don't the next time we do the podcast, why don't you say, well, what's after that? What's after the first session? And I was like, that's a pretty good idea. So the second session, maybe and beyond, this is what makes NASM actually really, really helpful and really supportive. Is NASM developed systems, and it was really the first training system that was put into place. Now, there'd been research about periodization and things like that, but to have a company that systematically put into play, here's a step-by-step that you can follow that gives you an example of what to do, when to do it, how to progress your clients, what's a timeline that you can progress your clients, what is the rep range, what is the step range, what is the tempo, how do I work with people, what are the exercises that I can do? Well, NASM makes that pretty easy. And, here I am 20 years after getting my first NASM certification, and I still follow the NASM OPT model and their components of the workout, which is interesting, right? Because this is a base level certification, and I have far more education than I had 20 years ago in the industry, and I'm still following pretty close to the same model. Why? Well, it's a good model. It's a system to follow, and it works. So let's go through our second session. The second session, at the end of the first session, they now have a list of their correctives or their movement prep, what they're supposed to do before they see me on day one, things that they can practice while they are not seeing me so that they can progress. And they can move better, feel better, everything now based off of that initial series of assessments that we gave. So now they're foam rolling, they're stretching, they're doing activations, a few integrated exercises, they're following. That's the corrective exercise continuum, those four things. Inhibit, lengthen, activate, integrate. For the purposes of corrective exercise, well, yes, sort of, but for the purposes of movement prep, getting their body specifically to them prepared to do exercises that I've planned for them to do. So let's talk about the components of the workout, because for me, this is nice that if I have somebody I'm going to train, I kind of know tap, 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 what's going to be addressed in that workout. So what's going to be addressed in the workout? Components of the workout. First of all, there's the warm-up, and the warm-up consists of these things. Are you ready? The warm-up consists of core, balance, and reactive or plyometrics. So I might do core work. I would do some balance work. I might do some plyos. I might not. Some of you are like, what? You would do plyos with everybody? No, I don't do plyos with everybody, but that's in the system. Speed, agility, quickness, SAQ training is in that warm-up training as well. Getting the nervous system ready to go, getting the heart rate up. in this coordination, neuromuscular coordination with our balance, our plyos, and then doing some reactive directional stuff, speed, agility, and quickness. For everybody? Nope. No, not for everybody. Core balance? Yeah, I do core and balance with every one of my clients. Now, core, sometimes that might be like hip work core. That might be abdominal core work. That might be upper extremity, like my shoulder girdle core work. So that's a core work, right? Where the arms attach, where the hips attach, and everything in between. That's my core work. Prepping that. And then we get to the workout. What can we also do in the warm-up? We can add cardio in, or you can add cardio in as part of the workout. But cardio is a component of a workout. So far we've got core, balance, plyometrics or reactive training, speed, agility, quickness, so SAQ we'll put into one, cardio respiratory training. And then our last one is going to be resistance training. Core, balance, plyos, SAQ, cardio, resistance. It's my 6 components of the workout. And then you can couple those components into different things. Like your core, balance, reactive, plyos, and even your cardio can all be part of the warm-up before you even get to the resistance training. That's good. That's a good warm-up. You're warm. In fact, after you do core, balance, and plyos, many people think that's the workout. We're working out. I'm like, no, that's just the warm-up. And they're like, what? That's the warm-up? That's the warm-up. Now what are we going to do? Well, now we're going to work out. Wait, what? Let's work out. Let's get some resistance training in. Let's get some cardio in. And I like to do cardio with my clients for their workout. And I know that I used to get this all the time early on. I didn't work with a trainer so they can put me on a treadmill. And I don't know trainers that really just put people on a treadmill and say, hey, go for a 30-minute run as I watch. You're not doing your moderate intensity continuous training cardio while working with a personal trainer. I put you on a treadmill, I'm pretty much going to bust you pretty hard on that. So we're going for how many METs can you get in? What's your speed? What are the intervals we're putting together? This is not moderate intensity continuous training. That is your homework to help build your base. Build your base, build your mitochondrial density, build your aerobic respiration in the presence of oxygen, longer, slower duration. Get out there and go. When you're with me, that's not how we're going to train. I'm going to put you on a ski erg and I'm going to see how many you can, what's your all out max that you can go right now? Or I might put you on for 3 minutes. 3 minutes. It's probably the longest I'll go with clients, but I put people in for 3 minutes and it might be like, this is our anchor exercise of the day. So sometimes I give my clients an anchor exercise of the day. What is an anchor exercise? An anchor exercise is at the end of each circuit of exercises, we're going to do this exercise. What does that mean? That might mean that now you're going to go on the Airdyne and you're going to bang out that Airdyne bike, like moving the arms and the legs for 3 minutes straight. We might do intervals for that 3 minutes. Let's bust out 30 seconds hard and then relax easy breezy for 30 seconds. It might be 15:45, not pushing that hard. But also, when you're not pushing that hard, you still have a certain amount of METs that you're supposed to hit. Or at the end of each minute, you still have a certain amount of calories I want you to knock out. What are those METs? What are those calories? Look, this is a working out that you're going to have to start practicing to see how you can challenge your clients. That's like saying, what weights do you lift when you resistance train? It depends. It depends. But in between that, I've got core, balance, plyometric, speed, agility, and quickness, cardio, all as part of their workout, maybe even as part of their warm-up before we get to the resistance training. Now, how do we do resistance training? My preference early on, especially, I get people, it's a total body workout because we're going to be in the stabilization phase, right? If I start training somebody, almost everybody starts in stabilization endurance. What does that mean? That means the repetitions are high. The set range may not be that high, but your tempo, how fast you do each repetition, is going to be quite slow. And it's very demanding neuromuscularly on your system. There's a lot of negative in this workout. And I don't mean bad stuff. I'm talking about the eccentric phase of the motor, of the muscle action spectrum. We're doing longer, slower negatives, longer eccentric loads, pausing, lifting, 3 seconds on the eccentric, isometric maybe for 2 seconds, concentric for one quick lift or one slow lift. And we repeat that, how many? I don't know, 12 to 20 repetitions. You do the numbers on that, that's a 6-second repetition. If you do 3 down, 2 at the bottom, pause for 2, lift for 1, that's 6 seconds. 10 repetitions into it is a minute, and we're not done with our minimal range that I'm trying to get you to. I'm trying to at least get 12 reps. Usually I drive people when we first train getting 15 reps. And then sometimes we do resistance as cardio. That metabolic conditioning, might take a medicine ball and just have them touch it to the ground, lift it all the way up. Touch it to the ground, lift it all the way up. How many reps? I'm not doing it for reps. You got 60 seconds. Go. What is that? That's their cardio. It just includes something that's weighted. I'm not counting repetitions on that. It's about the same amount of resistance that's on a ski erg or a rower or an airdyne or whatever else is out there. A stair climber. There's resistance in cardio, treadmill, going up a hill. Oh man, you added resistance. So is this resistance training? I mean, it's kind of resistance, kind of cardio. We think about cardio sometimes it's all aerobic activity. That's kind of what cardio has been linked to. When we say cardio, we think and we connect it with aerobic activity. And you can do anaerobic cardiorespiratory training, metabolic conditioning, and it's weird too because metabolic conditioning is considered to be higher intensity activities, which is good, except aerobic conditioning is also metabolic. So we're taking words and we're creating meaning around them, kind of like functional training. Functional training has a lot of meanings, but it doesn't really mean stand on a wobble board and shake a body blade while doing ropes in one hand, wearing an eye patch on the other, all weird stuff that people used to do. Thank goodness we've moved away from that. Or have we? So, cardio, resistance training, putting them together, making that cardio be your resistance, and making the resistance be your cardio. It is a great way to increase your metabolic conditioning, caloric expenditure. But one of the other things too is as you do those slow repetitions for long amounts of time with minimal amounts of rest in between, that is also highly metabolically taxing. What's that mean? That means that's real good for you if you're trying to burn some calories. Good, that's good. What about people that want to get stronger? So this is right now is about stabilization and endurance, building a base. We got to put a base for people. That's why stabilization endurance is the base of the NASM OPT model. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but the OPT model, the names of the phases are the names of the outcomes you want to get because people don't care what they do. They mostly care about the outcomes they're going to get. So what are the outcomes? Well, stabilization, endurance. The next level is strength endurance. The next level is hypertrophy or muscular development. The next level is max strength. The next level is power and max power. We're not limited to that. There's endurance power. They're all different types of things that we can fit in here. But as we direct the model, we have a system to follow. Why? So it makes it easier for us to wrap our hands around how we can develop a client in a progressive system, as opposed to what? Making it up when we get there. And you can make it up when you get there. That's fine. It's easy to make it up when you get there. When you know you have a system where you're going to do your core, balance, plyos, SAQ, cardio, resistance training. It's not made up. It's what you would have done if you sat down to think about it. Why? Because I know there are all these components of a workout and they all fit in the stabilization endurance level that I've got my client in, or I've progressed them now to a strength endurance level. What am I going to do now? I'm going to do core for strength. I'm going to do balance for strength. I'm going to do plyos for strength. I'm going to do SAQ for strength. I'm going to do cardio for strength. I'm going to do resistance training for strength. Yeah, cardio for strength. What does that mean? In cardio for strength, we have different levels of the OPT model, but the cardio doesn't necessarily fit into the resistance training model. So we're trying to get their familiar threshold, VT1, VT2. How are we progressing our clients? But I'm taking you VT2 in majority of the time that you're going to be working out with me as we intersperse cardio into the resistance training. But that second workout, you've already done the warm-up. I gave that to you in the first workout. So now what? Now we start adding stuff in. Now let's add in maybe a few more core exercises. Now let's add in maybe a few more foam rolling exercises, a few more stretches, core activations. And now I want to talk to you real quick about just like smart training, because the smart training, this is really interesting, right? So when you bring things back around, they make so much sense, right? And it makes you look so smart to your clients. So let's just take like my big three that I like to use when I do an assessment. And I addressed this last week. Here's my big three when I go through assessments. I want to know where you feel it, why you feel it, how you feel it. Let's do a bridge. And this is after the overhead and single leg squat assessment. I do bridge, I do planks, and I do floor cobras. And so the bridge, we'll go through the exercise, have you practice the exercise, make sure that you're feeling this where you want to be, where I want you to be feeling it, which is a primarily glute-centric exercise that you can still feel in the front of your thighs because you're stretching out your quads. You may still feel in your hamstrings because they help to extend the hip, but primarily you're feeling it in the glutes. I might even have you dorsiflex and invert your foot while crunching your toes to get some tibialis anterior activation there for any lower extremity dysfunction that we may have. I'm doing this is a great exercise. And then I'm telling you not to roll your spine. Can. It's just not what I want you to do. Why? Because when we get over to start doing those squats, and I say the reason we don't roll our spine in our bridges is because we don't roll our spine in our squats. And this is a moving bridge that you just did. We are now loading you up and we are doing the same mechanical. The vectors of force are different, yes, but mechanically what's going on at the hip and how they're going in extension, that's the same, that we're doing that to prep for this. Why do we do the floor cobras? Well, the floor cobras, great exercise. As I'm now working with people on doing their rows, all I have to do to cue them is say, hey, remember the cobras we did where your shoulders were back and down, you squeeze your shoulder blades back, no spinning in the socket, no anterior tipping of the scapula. The way that felt, go in that position. Now bend your arms. When you bend your arms, you're in a row position. The reason we did the cobra is to prepare you for doing the rows the way that we need to get them done. And your clients will be like, what? You mean you thought this out? You considered the workout in the warm-up? Yeah, it's so good. You look so smart. And it is smart. And that's why we do what we do in the warm-up process. That's why when I work with somebody, when he does bridges initially, he'd get cramps and Charlie horses in his hamstrings. So what do? We foam roll. We stretch his hamstrings. We do activations for his glutes, and then we do the bridges, and we minimize him getting his hamstring hypertonicity jumping in there and going into a Charlie horse. So why did we do that? We did that for this. Oh, it's so smart. Just creating some smarter workouts for our clients. And I developed that right there in that second one. When I'm working out with people, now we're getting more into a workout, and I can relate what we do in the warm-up to the workout that lets them know, oh, we've been preparing for this. We've been preparing for the rows. You've been laying the groundwork for the rows by doing those floor cobras this whole time. So good. So good, Daniel-san. So while you're over there waxing on, waxing off, painting the fence, all of that stuff, and you don't realize that all the work around Mr. Miyagi's house is really training you how to fight. All your prep work is really training you on how to make those applications to your real life workouts when we get to them. And that is valuable. That is smart. And that's the takeaway your clients are going to have when they work with you and they go, oh, you need to work with my trainer. Because there are people all the time that have bad experiences with personal trainers. And you can woo your clients, not with the coolest, prettiest, most outlandish looking things, but simply preparing them better for their workouts and then building a base for them to draw on. And just like in education, it's scaffolding. You start here and you add a little bit more, and then you add a little bit more. And then before you add a little bit more, you tell them why this was here, why this is here, and then you add more, and you keep relating it back to their goals. What do they want to get out of it? What are their goals? What are their needs? What are their wants? What are their concerns? And you address them, and you do it systematically. All right. Anyway, I hope you found this helpful, interesting, supportive. If you did, please make sure you subscribe, like, and rate. Also, share with people. Pass this along to other personal trainers. Actually, my older brother, not a personal trainer, never listened to my podcast because he thought it was just for personal trainers. And then he started listening to it the other day and he was like, there's so much stuff I can get out of doing this. I thought it was just for trainers. And I'm like, no, it's for trainers and trainer adjacent. So if you are kind of like next to a trainer, kind of beside a trainer, or you want to have a conversation with the trainer, send them this podcast. Let them know about it. Reach out to me if you have any questions. Instagram at dr.rickrichey, or you can email me, rick.richey@nasm.org. Thank you so much. This has been the NASM-CPT Podcast.